The Tech Changemakers program is all about workforce development in adults. We're trying to train teens to then train adults in digital skills, creating a resume, building their own portfolio or website, maybe for a business or just for their personal lives. Also just technical skills in that capacity. We chose drones because it's a really popular and hot topic right now. Drones are being used in a variety of fields, and companies are paying people to get their license in becoming a drone pilot.
So drones have a lot of different uses in media production, obviously. Journalists can get photos or video of a scene from a different perspective to show context. We could use them in cinema to create more dramatic shots, obviously. We can also use them as tools for doing photogrammetry. We're taking a bunch of photos and creating a 3D model of a location. So we can use it for 3D spatial storytelling. So students that are interested in adding drone photography or videography to their skill set, the first thing they should do is read up on the laws, learn as much as you can about not only flying drones, but the legal implications of it. And that's something that we cover in our classes. We not only teach different techniques and different ways you can use them to shoot and produce content, but also we prepare students to get their license. If you're going to be a professional multimedia producer using drones, you definitely need to have a small UAV license to operate it. To go from someone who uses a drone as a toy or a hobbyist to being a professional who uses a drone for multimedia production, there are a few steps that you need to take, not only to learn how to fly and do it safely, but also to do it legally and make sure that you're not flying in controlled airspace and that kind of thing. Also to understand how weather impacts drones, how different factors can impact how a drone flies and how it responds. There are different classes that you can take. There are online video classes you can take that will prepare you to take the Part 107 small UAV licensure test. It's like a 100-question test. It's not that intimidating, but you do have to do some preparation before you take it. Go to a testing site, get your licensure, and then you have to renew it every 2 years with the FAA.
We do quite a bit with geographic information systems, and that's a way to analyze and manipulate data and try to get a better understanding. Well, you have to feed that software with good data, and so there's a lot of publicly available data, but drones allow us to be very quick and nimble and repeat measurements. Drones don't allow us to do wide area places like fly a whole county, but if it's the right scale job, we can get very, very good information across multiple sensors. So we're involved in stream restoration, wetland restoration. We're involved in power line mapping, pipeline mapping. Anywhere you find that juxtaposition of the environment and energy resources, really any place where folks really need a better view of their geography. Well, I think it's common knowledge that drones will collect video and color imagery. We call it RGB imagery, which is just a picture. But we've gone beyond, and we have what's called a LiDAR sensor. It's a light detecting and ranging sensor. So it's actually an active laser that shoots to the ground and returns. It's something crazy like 400,000 shots per second. And each one of those have an XYZ value, which tells us where that is on the earth, and so we can do three-dimensional models with that. We can do cut fill analysis. We can measure tree heights and tree structure. You're only limited by your imagination, I suppose. I think you need to know a little bit about mapping and geography. It's even the pilot test is very map-based. Pilots have to understand mapping very well, as you could imagine. But there's so much on the internet now. FAAdronezone.gov. Be careful because there's a lot of fakes out there. But that kind of steps you through the process, and then there's lots of literature, and there's tons of YouTube and other media to understand the basics. And then I would recommend getting a less expensive drone, because you're going to crash. It's not if, it's when.
There's numerous companies that are out using these drones every day, flying with GPS to do things like eventually deliver packages, but also like survey pipelines or provide aerial imagery. What we're really in the game of is kind of trying to find futuristic applications that drones could be beneficial. So we are using a team of a ground robot and a drone together to go explore an underground environment. In this case, it's kind of like a highway tunnel. And the idea is it could be an environment that's dangerous. Maybe there was some chemical leak and we don't want to send in humans, but we could use this team to go and provide a situational awareness, a map of the environment. Are there targets of interest that we want to go rescue? Those sort of things. So we have this team of ground robot and drone. They have different capabilities and they work together to solve the mission. Another project we have is kind of building off of that. We got kind of some technology to operate these underground. So we partnered with our mining engineering colleagues and we have a grant that's all focused on mine safety. So it's kind of like these are large mines, so we want to be able to send in this drone to be able to, it wouldn't be cost effective to send humans to do this periodically, but if we could send a robot or a drone to go in and do this efficiently and autonomously, then we can have this information to predict, okay, there could be something on the horizon that we need to be aware of. So in order to become a drone pilot, you have to kind of study what I believe is the equivalent of doing like a ground school for a pilot. You kind of understand weather patterns, you know the airspace rules and regulations, and you have to take a multiple choice exam. I will say that in engineering, we do have many students that go about doing that. It provides opportunities for summer internships with companies that want to do this type of testing outdoors, because you have to have somebody involved in the test that is the official Part 107 licensed pilot. From the area I work in with robotics, there's a lot of opportunities to get involved in middle school robotics, high school robotics, and I know that those are continuing to evolve into even drone competitions, at the middle school and high school. And I think, that would be an excellent way to kind of get into the field. And like I said, you can learn a lot with a system that you operate and control in an indoor environment where you're not, worried about, causing property damage or something like that. So those are some ways to do it. Clubs and competition teams.